Welcome everyone to Robot Builders Night Virtual for January 28th. We have a queue going. I'm going to start with a discussion of the members meeting, the annual members meeting that took place at the Dallas Makerspace on Saturday, and then we'll go through the queue. And then we'll go to open mic. But I think we might have some discussion related to outcome of the meeting. So the meeting was supportive of the idea of replacing the librarian officer on the DPRG board with a newly created IT officer position. That's out for vote at the moment. The vote will close on February the 9th, and I expect it to pass. And so then we will. Fernando wants in the queue, and so assuming it does pass, then what we'll do is hold a special election at the next monthly meeting for the open position of IT officer. So we'll have notice of that meeting will come out. Notice of that election will come out 2 weeks before the meeting. So expect that on February the 9th. The ideas on, so we ended up with a question of which conference room to hold RoboRama in. So I want to switch over and close on that. Let's see. I've got
the one without the carpeted floor.
Neither of them have a carpeted floor.
Oh, do they? Okay.
So let's see. I wanted. Where is it? There we go. Can you all see this video?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a Dallas Makerspace video that they put together at RoboRama, and this first segment is in the north lobby meeting room. So it's got some windows, got a hard floor, but it's a smaller room. Its advantage is it's more easier for people to access because it's just inside the front door, and we can get to the when the doorbell rings, we can open it easily. And then we'll see. Now this one with the fake wooden floor is the other conference room inside. It's harder to get to, but it's bigger. A feeling
And it doesn't have any windows.
On the board is that the bigger room was maybe better considering the number of people that we have there. If you look around at the number of people like sitting in the room.
Yeah, the other plus with that room is it does not have windows, which does not mess up.
I'm so happy there. And so does Mark. I love that. Okay.
Anyway, doesn't mess up with our cameras.
So we need to decide. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this. So any thoughts on front versus back? So the north lobby front conference room versus the back one.
I vote for the room with the most windows and daylight coming in.
No.
And that's Pat speaking, right? And you won't be at RoboRama in person, so why are you commenting?
Trying to mess with us. That's why.
Yeah, I think the interactive room worked well last time. It was large enough to hold everybody and the robots and the course and everything, and then it seemed comfortable.
Yeah.
It is a little harder to get to, sure, but
yeah.
And that can make up for raised window deficiency with countermeasures. So
Oh, okay.
Okay, then let's decide that we're going to do it in that whatever that inside conference room is called.
the interactive.
Interactive.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay,
book
great.
it with the usual arrangements, Paul.
Thank you, Carl.
Yep.
Carl needed to know that to make the room reservation. Okay, so I want to confirm the date for RoboRama. It is going to be May the 24th. That's the Saturday before Memorial Day. We decided that a couple of RBNVs ago, and so just bring it up again to make sure we haven't changed our mind. Okay, not hearing anything. We'll say for sure that's the date, because I don't think Doug was at that meeting where we decided that. So that's 5/24.
Okay. All right. I'll put it on the website.
Thank you. Okay, so want to go over some of the ideas and decisions that came out of the brainstorming session. So we had some ideas for monthly presentations, and Doug, I'm putting you on the spot here, so you don't have to answer, you can defer, but you know how soon you might be ready to do a KeyCAD Tech Talk? Oops, Doug might have gone off and...
No, I'm sorry. I went to get a piece of paper so I could write May 24th on it.
Yeah. So Doug's going to do a KeyCAD Tech Talk, and I'm looking forward to that because
when is that going to happen? When do you
well, I
want
wanted
to do
to ask you when you think you could be ready, Doug.
Let's shoot for February. The reason, unless you've got something else for that. If you do, then maybe move it back to later in the year. The reason why I'm saying this, I may be out of town in March and April. So I guess what I'm saying is, but I think we can do it in February.
That would be awesome, Doug. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I will certainly appreciate and value that as I appreciate and value the talk that you and John did on 3D CAD design.
Okay. All right. So KeyCAD, and what day is it? Since you had your calendar up, what day is?
So February meeting is on 22nd, February 22nd.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. So competitions. It was decided to run. We didn't talk about the other, if you will, the usual competitions that we run, like 6CAN and Quick Trip and Foursquare. But it was decided to run a mini sumo competition at the RoboRama, using the standard mini sumo rules and the club sumo ring. So that's a new thing. So that
I'm
could be-
assuming we're going to get with Kareem to gather up the Utes to do this, or
gather up what?
the youths.
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 Good point. Let me take a note to contact Kareem about whether the youths are going to come along and compete.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't. Does somebody else know of a group that's doing that, or have a contact for a group? I mean, I don't. So.
Scott was super interested in it, and apparently you can get like sumo robot kits. So I thought I might do that. That'd be kind of fun. So I don't know. We decided that if one person, if there's only one person that wants to do it, then we won't hold it. But if there are two, then we will.
I think Scott has an A and a B robot, so his robots can battle each other. But it would be great to see Ray make a robot that we could put up countermeasures for.
Right. I don't think that Scott's two robots really constitutes having two competitors. But I defer to our spiritual leader of competitions, Doug, on that one.
I have a mini sumo with an HC11 processor on it.
Ooh.
That dates me a little bit.
Yeah. Gosh, I remember that from like back in the early 80s.
Yeah, I guess the question I have, Pat, what size is a mini sumo? Is it 4 inches by 4 inches?
Yeah, 4 inches, 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters by, I believe, 100 or 150 millimeters.
Uh-huh.
All.
And,
so, yeah.
And how much do they weigh? Can they weigh? 150
I thought it was
grams?
500 grams, half a pound. 500 grams, I believe, just over a pound.
Okay. Okay.
Pat, does that mean you have to use a light wood like balsa instead of whatever you grow in Canada?
I just use a solid block, a piece of 4x4, and I drill holes to mount things in it.
Okay.
No, the one I had was made out of that Sintra I talked about a few meetings ago. 1/8 of an inch Sintra board and a little metal scoop at the front and a couple servos, continuous rotation servos.
Cool.
Kareem just joined. Maybe we could ask him where.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Kareem, all those sumo robots you have, are they mini or are they the next one up? I don't know. I guess he dropped off. Because I want to say that the ones that he showed before, or typically runs at Moon Day, I want to say they're bigger than 4 inches.
Yeah.
Right now his mic is off, so that may be why we don't hear him.
Kareem, are you talking to us? Okay. Well, we can catch him up.
So when we say mini sumo, we got to be very specific. That's a certain size. So
as well as the competition ring for the mini sumo is
we probably might, if we had to bend the rules, we'll bend the rules on the arena, because we'll have to use whatever we got. But I want to say, they were using some size that was like 6x6 or something, which is a little bigger.
several classes. So
yeah, no, they do.
Well,
were they Legos or Vex parts?
Huh?
The mini sumos that the kids brought in, were they Lego, constructed with Legos or constructed with Vex plastic parts?
I don't. Are you talking about the ones when we brought in students?
Yeah.
No, that was a special class. There was no. We made that class up. We said that
Oh,
they
okay.
could be a certain size. It had to
Right.
be out of a block system, and I mean that's not a standard thing.
Okay.
I mean,
He posted something over the chat, so you might glance at the chat. He said something about plastic fastener similar, different from MIDI. So I don't know what he really means totally by that, but it sounds like, yeah, we had a special set at that stage to allow for plastic fasteners and so on.
Yeah, so this is something like, see what I'm saying? We have to, before this gets on the agenda for the competition, we need to decide, make sure that everybody's on board for the right
yeah.
class.
So Scott was the one who suggested mini sumo as a size.
Yeah, because I think that's one that he happens to have, that he runs, and it probably was one that was run at DPRG in the past. But like I say, that's a little small.
Yeah. I wonder if more of us would be able to compete robots that we already have. Like I know you've got about a 6-inch wide differential drive robot, and so do I. I wonder if we want to maybe change that.
One thing you might want to consider is sumo's kind of hard on the robots. They're crashing into each other with some force. So if you just put in any robot, might be destroyed.
Right.
Installing motors too.
So I would suggest let's talk about this a little later, because I suspect the reason we're not hearing from him, he's chatting and the message window, is that probably he has children's slides over there and he probably has a noisy background. So I suspect later this evening he probably could talk more about it and we can get more in the discussion realm versus now. I would lower this for the end of the meeting versus now. It's my suggestion. So we could go on for hours otherwise.
Yeah.
On this.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe let's defer.
We need to, I think we need to go look at sumo classes, and if there isn't any that we're happy with, we'll do the DPRG thing, and we'll make the one that says it can be 6 2/3 and weigh 27 pounds, and can't have a motor bigger than 1 inch or something. We can make our own class.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what we did with plastic fasteners, and that was really successful.
Yeah.
You can see those if you go back in the archive videos. I mean, there were lots and lots of kids in that really enjoyed themselves.
Yeah. So the question is, do we still want to? I know that at the meeting everyone said, yeah, let's do that. But it sounds like we need to look a little deeper to decide whether we really want to go ahead and whether we have a plan that can draw enough people. Because
I think you have to. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you.
We don't want to have an event just because Scott's got a robot that can compete in it.
Well, like I told him, if he's the only one, he can be a demo, and maybe he can generate some interest. But I don't particularly like making small. I'm more liking making where things are
larger,
at least 6 or 7 inches.
Yeah.
But that's just personal.
Yeah. Just to address a chat comment from Kyle. So the rules for RoboRama and all the contests that we run are on the DPRG website. You can find them at
Yeah, we've been sending him links. There's links in chat.
okay, great, thank you. Yeah, and as for sumo wrestling, I assume you're talking about humanoids there. None of us have we've never had humanoid event, so I don't know, that would be something, there need to be a movement behind that. Like 3 of us got pie dogs, and we had a pie dog event last RoboRama, and that was a lot of fun. And I don't know if we'll do that again. But on the subject of competitions, no, I'll leave that. Okay, what the other thing on other ideas out of the meeting that I think we ought to talk about is there was a proposal that we have that we do more rather than a competition, an award level for in the vein of how the that we award certificates for someone who can demonstrate, and this would be equally applicable to remote folks as well as local folks. A tabletop, not a competition, but a demonstration of capability for people. So it was proposed that we have 3 levels. You can show a robot that can drive to the end of the table and back without falling off and falling to its death. The second level is it's able to push a can off the table, and the third level is it's able to push a can into a goal. So that this could be something that would not be associated with RoboRama and competition, but more be a level of achievement that people can show that their robot can do these sort of like basic things. Well, they're not so basic actually when you try to find a can and push it off the table or push it into a goal. So I thought that we like that idea, and so we want to see if we can get that implemented, but that's as far as
the idea would be too that anybody could do it anytime. So
right.
So like Pat, let's say in February 27th, you decide, I've got a robot that can do 2 of those 3 or whatever. You could just pull out a table. The table's pretty, if you have a picnic table not a picnic table because it's got to have a solid top, but maybe even some kitchen tables would be good enough. You just need one that's it's at least probably 4x6 or 3x6 or something. We don't have to specify a specific table, though in general, we usually use one of those type that you have in a cafeteria, the ones that the legs fold up underneath. We usually just pull one of those out and set it up. And
so is that like a 6x3 maybe?
I want to say it's 6 feet, and I don't think it's quite 3. It might be 2.5.
Oh yeah, 30 inches.
They can vary in size, but typically, some I have is 2x4, some are 3x6. So yeah,
3x6 then, I guess.
2x4 would probably be the minimum I would suggest.
So whatever we have for demonstration is fine. So like a 4x6 dining room table.
That'd be fine.
Yeah. And
That-
and so it's really more to provide a concrete goal for people to show their robotic capabilities and get a certificate. There's not any money or prizes or anything, but a certificate of, hey, you're able to get your robot to do this.
I think we can do a little of both. First, before I get into what I was going to say, I'm going to say something else. When Paul casually mentions go to the other end and back, you have to have a part of the robot hanging off of the table on the other end.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Okay, so it's just not kind of like get close and come back. You literally gotta.
Okay.
So it's not a marker on the table that you start from and you come back to that marker?
You don't have to count, just back to the other edge, I believe.
Okay.
Because
at least in the past years when we did the robot tabletop contest, you had a square area you started from in the corner. And you would go to the other end.
No, that's big tabletop too.
Okay.
That's a totally different contest.
I know. I'm just saying we didn't have to go back to the edge thing. That's why I was saying start to a spot.
But the edge. But the other thing is we could have a competition at RoboRama if people wanted it. The problem is once you get a bunch of people who have 3, you have to decide how you do that. So, it might be everybody who got a 3 gets a prize. That might be the winning. So, but that, like I said, Paul said, it could be just a certification that you have, and we can put it up on the website. Have another list of like members, and they have, their tabletop certification 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Easy to do.
Anyway,
And it's not a hard robot. I mean,
right.
It's.
So to push the can, does it have to be able to sense the can? Like the can can be placed anywhere, right? It has to sense it.
The can can been placed anywhere, so that they have to be able to see a can. And the other thing is the one that where the what you call the goal, but it's actually a box hanging off the edge. So they have to kind of go to a certain place on the table and push the can into it. And generally that's on the side of the table. But when I was first getting started, I think the first RoboRama that I was involved in that actually had robots that were running, I was doing a tabletop, and mine did the famous leap from the table to the floor, and did a big, and it was all made out of acrylic, and did a big splat. I mean, it was pretty spectacular. But the winner that time was actually John. John had a robot that used a different strategy. His robot essentially found the edge of the table and used that to navigate through all of these different tasks. So like when he passed the can, he would rotate towards the can and push it until his drop sensors found it, the other side of the table. And then to get to the other end of the table, he just followed the edge all the way around the table to the end. Yep. And I don't know how he did the goal. I want to say he went around the edge, and then when he lost the edge suddenly, I don't know how. I don't know his
side sensor, and it would go down. There's no edge here, and it was made back when Lego actually had their tech Lego. So the one year I made it out of Lego bricks. Mm-hmm. So that was back probably around 2011-ish, give or take.
But anyway, what I'm trying to say is there are strategies that are not obvious at first. You know what I'm saying? When I eventually got proficient at it, I just used odometry and drop sensors for everything. And, that just totally made it a piece of cake.
Hey, Doug,
Mhm.
how come y'all stopped doing the tabletop? When I first met you guys, y'all was doing that.
Well, it's the part that the one you saw, Mike, was the tabletop 2, which is much more weird. It's a lot different. It's very similar in the sense that, so you start in that one, you start in the corner of a square table. So we had to have a special table made. So that was one of the reasons. There's a big table up in the what do you call them? In the arena storage. Yeah, in the storage. And so the first thing you had to get out of the starting area, because if you had drop sensors, the black tape that would mark the starting area, you had to get through that, or without it thinking, oh, I just saw the edge of the table. And so you had to get out of that. Usually most people just said, well, the first one you see, ignore, So you get out of the table, and then you had basically the 3 tasks. You had to, but except we had all the cans on the table. So you had to find a can, you had to throw it off the edge, you had to find another can, you had to put it in a bucket. And then the third task was you had to find the third can and then drive it back to the starting area. Okay.
Wow.
Now, and then to add to that, because that got too simple, what we did is we put 3 more cans on the table, and you had to take those 3 cans and line them up so that you could put a meter stick on top of them, and it would touch all 3 cans. So that was the final version of tabletop 2. Well, not everybody wanted to do that much work. That's why I pretty well stopped.
Oh, so
Okay.
how is this different? It won't be part of the RoboRama.
Well, like I said, we'll probably run it at RoboRama because that's a good time.
Yeah.
But it'd probably be, like I say, instead of a standard first, second, and third, it'd be everybody who got a 3 would get a prize. It might not be a big prize, but everybody would get a prize,
Oh, so you're feeling that, Doug, the way you're feeling is that we should run tabletop at RoboRama.
Yeah, I think why not? Let's change it up a little bit.
I would. I mean, it was a fun thing. It could be a relatively low initial cost robot, assuming you didn't go for all 3 levels or whatever you want to call it type thing. So yeah, it was a good one. And I think the part of the problem was that, for a couple of years, we didn't, we got into more of the syscan, and it took a lot of time to run it. So that was the other reason why we didn't run it, because as Doug said, we got eventually to a very fancy tabletop that took some time to put together in that. So it wasn't just simple flop out your 2x4 or 3x6 table and put it on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, it was more of a 3x6 table. So that was the benefit. I'll call it pre versus after. So that was the main benefit. The pre one was that it was a little more easier to set up and didn't take up as much space.
But Pat, I don't know, is Tom still on? I don't see his picture. If
I
Tom
believe he was on.
Yeah. Anyway, there was a
Yeah, he's
gentleman
there.
from Vancouver that came down and just absolutely nailed the big tabletop 2. Got ended up with his 3 cans and the line and everything.
Wow.
And he had this wonderful little robot. And I believe the video is available in our archives.
So the one I had found, I'll share. I'll share my screen. So that's the one I had found, the tabletop classic in your rules, and that was the layout for the table. So 60 by 72, so 5 feet by 6 feet.
Okay. Is that the classic?
That's the classic.
Does it? What are the goals?
Primary tasks: cross the table, hang a portion of the robot off the opposite from the starting line, and return past the starting line. Knock a can off the table, and then place a soda in the box hanging along the side.
Right.
So,
So that table is kind of weird. I mean, I can't. It looks like it's 2 tables put together with a piece of tape on it.
yeah, so that's, I thought it was a little weird. So it's
But
It
think of
was
one of those.
It
Think
was
of one of
sized-
those tables, Pat. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that would
so
be
if I did
36.
a 4 by 5 table, that would be good enough.
Right.
Yeah,
And the reason
that-
why
you
it
don't
was
need to
weird
use that
size
exact
is-
table size.
Okay.
It
You know
was
what
a
I mean?
weird size is because reality is it was 2 parts, 2 sheets that were bolted together effectively. So that's why it's a little bit bigger than your normal portable table. But
Yeah, I think
originally
what-
we started off without that table. That's why I said we originally started off with a pure full-in table.
Cafeteria table.
This was added on afterwards when somebody built a top so it would be centerized.
So what you're seeing on the table for that particular rule set is we had already developed tabletop 2, but we decided to not always run tabletop 2. We would run the classic because that might be what people wanted, but we already had the table made, so we just used it. Okay. But just any cafeteria table or something similar to it. Like I say, I used to practice on my dining room table, not dining room, my kitchen table, you know, and I think it's probably 5 by 3 or something, or 5 by 4, and I don't know. Just a standard little classic table.
There are 2 things under discussion here. One is a demonstration of capabilities that could be done at any time, even during an RBNV, and which would be rewarded with a certificate of accomplishment and to the level that was achieved. And it could be done really in about any size table that someone has, like in their house. So the idea that was mooted at the meeting was you can do this at home using your kitchen table if you want. And then the other thing we're discussing is how to standardize the competition for RoboRama. And it sounds like, Doug, maybe you need to amend the rules in a way that makes it work in a way you think it ought to work
I think it just needs to allow flexibility on table size. I think that's the only thing that needs to be done.
Well, how would people know how far it's got to travel to hang its front edge over, or are you?
How do they do that? They all do it with drop sensors.
Is that like a proximity sensor mounted on the front?
It's like an IR sensor, just a standard. Tom has used them in his robot all over the place. You just aim it down, hit that down towards the ground. So
and then what about
when you're on the table, it sees the table. But
and
as
then what
soon
about
as
knowing
you go
where
up
the
the
box
edge,
is?
huh?
What about knowing where the box is to push the can into it?
Well, I'm not gonna. I mean, hey, that's probably going to take some form of odometry.
Yeah, and I'm saying, wouldn't you need to standardize where that is to make it something that people can
The boss,
practice it just
the
before
boss
the
could be
competition.
handy
Yeah.
anywhere on
Well,
the
we
table.
can, right now, if you look at the one that was shown, it says 12 inches from the edge. And you could just say, well, it has to be 6 or 12. Otherwise, it can't be right on the corner. You don't want it right on the corner.
Okay.
It could be, but it wasn't usually.
No.
That's the whole point. It was a random place box. So you had to take that into account too.
So,
I think- Okay, that's fair enough, Doug. I suspect the rules probably need to be updated to make those things we've just discussed clear.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think there's some physical training involved too. You know, you have to improve your agility on catching a falling robot. You know,
Well, that's the fun part is that, you know, you can talk smack about your robot, but if you're wandering around the table with your hands clutched in a grabbing motion and you're bent over the table, your cred goes way down.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that has cred is the one who goes over and starts the robot and goes and sits in a chair and just lets it do its thing. So
For me, I just plan on being good with a broom.
yeah, you do realize that you don't, you know, after you lose your first one, you say no acrylic in it. That's for sure. You know, this is where to pat your wooden robots are really a much better situation.
Make it out of TPU.
Yeah, yeah, you could.
Foam rubber robots.
Yeah.
Well, I like this for RoboRama, changing it up a bit and doing tabletop. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll just add it to it. You know, it depends on how many people want to do it.
Right.
During the actual competition. I mean, like I say, a lot of robots with just adding the drop sensors can do this. You don't even have to build a new one. You know.
Well, that's what I was thinking. If you could take the robot I'm going to use for 6CAN, which has got a can grabber and whatever else, add a drop sensor to it, maybe two, one on the back end, and just in case, and be able to do, you know, start some work on odometry on a tabletop, and you know, find out where the can is, and you know, one competition leads into the other, pretty much.
Yep. Yeah. So it was a fun starter. That was probably my favorite event. You know, the one.
Do you think we ought to support like last RoboRama we had a co-located RoboRama in outside at Pat's place, and or maybe it was Tom's place. I'm not sure.
Tom's, I think it was Tom's.
But this would actually be something that people could do in their own house, like, and so we could make RoboRama even more virtual, if you will. Have that event be if you got a webcam and you can show you doing it, we could do that. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that's possible. I do like it when they meet together at the same time, and we're, you know, trading video. I like that. But you know, the guys in Canada would have to tell me what their preference was. But I mean, I enjoy watching their robots live. You know.
Well, but it's not just the guys in Canada. For example, Ted is in Colorado, and Chris is in I'm not sure where.
He's in Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Yeah, Connecticut. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, tabletop, you know, for sure is minimal. I bet everybody has a table that they eat off of.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, if Tom hosted it, maybe, you know, the entrance fee could be a you know, premium Canadian beer, a 6-pack or something to, you know, participate or something. So, yeah.
So this sounds like an interesting idea. And you know, we have the remote pool. So instead of the remote pool just being the two guys in Ottawa, It could be anyone that's around anywhere around the country.
Mhm.
Is it done on time as to like?
Well, I don't think I think we have done it on time, but that's because when you get multiple people who have a 3,
Yeah,
they've all done it. And how do you pick a winner? I want to say a couple of times it was done with people. There was a technical judge of who did it the best way, but that's so arbitrary that it tended to make bad feelings. So I just say anybody who got a 3, they get a prize. But since we could be giving out a fair number of prizes, the prizes may be no bigger than $20. You know what I mean? So you know what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So we can work out that detail. But it sounds like we got tabletop that could be done locally and remotely as one event.
Yep.
I like that.
And the force, people who want to do the other ones are sure, they've already done it at times once. I don't have times amenable to it. I guess it depends on how much snow he's got.
Tom and I are in discussions about doing a RoboRama getting together. So either up here up north or down south where he is,
Mhm.
and trying to do it.
That's
So,
been to my house a couple of times, and I haven't been to his house, although I've been past it. I've been past it a few times.
Yeah, and
so I thought if we go to Tom's, we might entice John into coming to an event.
I was thinking that too.
And there may be some folks from the Ottawa group who would attend as well.
Yeah, it's a little more central than I am. I'm about 9 hours from Ottawa.
Yeah.
So I think Ottawa's a little closer to Tom's place, 6 hours or so.
400 kilometers, 4 hours.
Okay, so 4 hours.
Okay. All right. So sounds like we got a little bit of homework to do, but that's kind of on its way. The other idea that came up in the brainstorming at the meeting was that we run another build a bot class series for people who are interested, who want to build and build a kit and learn robots. And so I'm not sure where we want to go with this discussion. I did start on putting together some requirements that I thought might make sense for such a robot. So I could share them later, or because we're probably getting ready to move over onto another person in queue by about now. We've spent an hour on this.
Yeah, I think it's time to move to the next person, Paul.
Yeah. Okay. Michael was next.
Yeah, mine's real short. I'm just gonna. Mine would probably be good at the end, but I'll go ahead and share it. I was wanting this DC motor. This DC motor I'm using for my new claw machine. But I was having trouble with the for loop of ramping. Okay, I want to write a code that ramps, and I got the code ramp to ramp this motor up and down simply because this motor, some of y'all might have seen it, but let me pretend to, or y'all can click on it. Anyway, this motor is driving a pulley this big, it'll be about 8 inches. And this is my turntable that the items will be sitting on this rotating. Well, that's a lot of inertia once it gets turning to stop that and go to another direction. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So I was wanting to write a ramp program to ramp this motor up, ramp it back down to change direction to keep it from skipping these teeth, because that's a lot of inertia for this thing. So
I
anyway,
would suggest
Well, I'll tell you what.
let me finish first. Let me finish.
Okay.
Then I'll ask you guys if you got any suggestions. But I said, I'm like, well, okay, so I wrote one, and the problem is I could get this to my code. My code, I was having trouble with my code. I could get it to change direction just on off. But when I wrote a for loop, it would just, my code just didn't work right. So what I did, I thought, I was scratching my head, and I went to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to write me a code to do that. And it did it just fine.
Wow.
And I asked it 4 times, and it gave me 4 different sketches, different, that did the same thing. I thought that was amazing. That's all I was wanting to share. Has anybody kind of cheated with ChatGPT with their code? That's kind of a question I was wanting to.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not cheating. What do you mean?
I know, it's just, it's using the resources you have to get the job done.
That's right.
So,
DeepSeek R1 is a new way to go. DeepSeek
oh,
R1.
yeah, that's the new one. I'm not with
Yep.
the Chinese anymore. I'm all American now. No, I'm kidding. But somebody was somebody was going to say something. Who was it?
I mentioned the fact that you could maybe use a worm gear, since you were saying it was overrunning, because
I
the
thought
benefit of that is, it's very precise, slow
I
down.
thought about that. I mean, I kind of got frustrated, almost give up on my little project, and then after a couple of days, my emotions calmed down and I got back in the groove again. I was almost ready to pitch it because it's a good idea, but it was giving me trouble. I thought about a worm gear, but I got another idea. I think I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to run it with a stepper motor, and then disable the stepper motor till the big gear just kind of winds down a little bit, and then re-engage it. That way,
Okay.
them too. That's
Okay, Mike, I had this to say about it.
okay.
Because I had the same problem with my robot base that I'm building, and David, what's David's
Anderson?
name? No, the
David
gentleman.
Steele?
Oh, David
He's
Steele.
old- No, David, the oldest person we have.
David
Atkinson.
Ackley.
Ackley. Okay. Dave Ackley looked at it and he said, well, you know what you need to do? He says, you need to put a bigger pulley there. Now, in my case,
On the dry motor?
yeah, that little pulley you got on there,
Yeah,
if you put a bigger pulley there now,
I do have one.
yeah, if you put that on there, think about the number of teeth that are
Oh, yeah,
engaged,
that are engaging.
that
Yeah.
are engaging.
Yep.
And you'll find that will work much better.
Okay, I actually got one. So, a lot bigger.
I got 4 coming. Because
Think about
after
it,
his suggestion, I just said, oh,
That's
that's
a
so
good idea.
obvious.
But it changes the speed, of course, because of the
No,
ratio.
on that, you have to, well, I don't know about on yours. It might change the speed. But on my case, I'm simply that portion of just driving the front wheels and the back wheels. And those were both same size. So it was a 1-to-1 ratio. So it didn't really matter what size they are. Bigger is better because it's got more grip, more torque, ability to handle more torque.
Well, let me show you what I think you can see it. I think
If you
I've
can
seen
ramp
it
it,
before. See
the
the
ramping speed, Michael, you must be able to just change the speed to account for the different pulley size.
Yeah, you might be able to do that. That's a very good point, Paul.
Yep.
well, I can do that. I was just having the motor was a lot. The motor size was. I was just having a lot of trouble with it.
Now that's a stepper motor you were showing us, right?
Well, this is. Let me put this back. So, this is what I was. I started.
Okay, now that's a worm gear motor, you know.
Yeah, it's a worm gear motor, and this is the one I started with, and it didn't have enough oomph, to drive it.
No.
So I bought a bigger one,
Wow.
and it's got enough to drive it, but it doesn't. I was wanting to. Well, I needed to be able to ramp down. You can't put these worm gear motors. There's no neutral on them. You know that. It's either, and you can't turn them. They're good about that. But I'm thinking that stepper motor might do what. And another thing about that stepper motor, if I set the voltage right, it'll skip. That stepper motor will skip. Pulses. If it gets too much torque on it.
It will.
So I might try to do that. So
that way you won't have it'll limit damage for sure.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like the teeth skipping like that. I just didn't like it. No.
Well, anyway, that's my suggestion.
Well, thank you. That's a good one. And I do have a pulley to take care of.
Try it out at least.
But the second issue is, like I was saying, that ChatGPT was kind of come to my rescue, because coding is I'm coding challenged, so but it if you don't see where you're writing the code wrong, I could actually see what ChatGPT did and said, as far as writing a code that ramps up and down. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Anyway, well, thanks for the input.
Good job. Bruce Wilson showed using what was that thing he showed last week that was just eye-opening to me. It hooked up to Claude, but it was
Aider.
Aider, yeah.
Have you looked up at the price of Aider?
No. Wait, I thought he was using a free version.
I don't think there is a free version.
I did look into it, and there is a free level.
There's a 14-day trial, but there's
no. There was a real free level.
You sure?
What's the name of this one?
The one I saw was like $2,500.
Yike.
No.
Oh, what's the name of it?
Aider.
AIDER.
Is it better than is for this kind of thing better than like ChatGPT?
It's a little different. It depends on how you write your prompt a little more, but apparently it's very, very good.
Let me show you, let me read to you what I wrote, ChatGPT. One of the, where's it at? Where's it at too? Okay, here we go. Okay, here's what I wrote. This is one of them I wrote with changing direction. Write me an Arduino sketch that will ramp up a DC motor to 255 when I push a button, and then ramp it back down to 0 when I let off the button, and turn the opposite direction with a second button. So I wrote that and it did it. I thought that was pretty cool. So I guess on the one y'all are talking about, AI y'all are talking about, is how you write it, how you present the question. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a little more complex, a little more structured, I think. But then again, it wouldn't do any better on this, but on the problem that he was trying to solve, it just wrote lines and what, I don't know, what did he say? He had 1,000 lines of code when he got finished or something. I mean, Really, it was a big project. It was a big project.
It was a ROS node, and it took it not only wrote the code, it wrote all the other files that you need, which was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So next up was John.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, let me click on a thing.
Okay, I'm gonna get it.
So I found this. So it looks very nice. I've seen one of these back several years back, but I like this one because it's very nice and clean, well designed. As you can see from the picture here, the cross beam there. So yeah, it's very nicely designed, because most of them were just blocks here and there, but this is a compact, pourable. It meets lots of the criteria that I like. So hopefully, once I order some of the parts, I don't have. Speaking of separ motors, I don't have 2 of those. At least I don't think I do. I hope I can get this built, but it's nice to lay out. You can see there, like that, the boss and that. I just, thought it was a very good article, well laid out.
Are the metal parts aluminum?
No, it's metal there, but you see the ends are 3D printed in the box in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's why it's and if you look closely, you'll notice it looks like telescopes, no less. It's the metal pipe.
Unique.
So that's what I mean by pourable, structurally sound. Yeah, it means all. I thought of a good one.
So is it also scalable with the
I would think
expandable
so.
pieces?
Based on this, I'm thinking, I mean, I can run the video if you want to see. Well, you can see up here, it looks very stretched out, where down there it's not.
No.
So, I think it's very scalable.
It reminds me of that one that we had at the Makespace, John, that Go Koopy thing we had
I
on the
know.
wall.
Well, we're talking about, in 2013-ish. Yeah, and that one wasn't pourable.
No, yes, definitely not.
Scalable. It was, this one is, and that's why I said it was very nice, very well laid out.
Yeah, I think they had that one attached to a whiteboard with a whiteboard marker.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's cool.
Can you put the link in the chat? I'm curious
Yeah.
about those expanding pieces.
Okay.
That almost remind me of those back scratchers with the.
A handle from a Swiffer, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But you see, there's the files for it, and then it has the SUV. So it's nice to lay out. So I thought, it caught my eye. I was like, ooh.
I may have some of those steppers, John. I'll bring them next time I come over.
I may have, but the key is, I don't know where. And unfortunately, I went by Micro Center the other day, and unfortunately, they don't have those over there. Used to, they did. So, somewhat
I know what mine are at. Mine are right there.
So I may have to horrors order online, but
this is cool. Very simple.
Oh yeah, that's why I said it's a very nice, simple, clean design. Very clean in my mind, especially this. So
I'll have to get one set up near Creative Arts. Write out some information.
So I don't know if you want me, I'll play the video, but I can click if you want to see it. So I really, don't know what they talk about. I can sort of see it run. So it's the variable machine risk.
sell some.
So,
Very good.
as I said, I thought it was, well designed. I like, the telescoping, portability factor of it. So,
Yeah, John, if you can't find yours, I found mine, so I can bring you some
okay.
motors and drivers.
Are you gonna build one, John?
This one I like. So, I'm sorry very much. In 2 or 3 reads from now, you'll see it actually running versus the video. But as I said, it looks pretty straightforward. So, yeah. And it looks like it's well documented in that. So, it meets all my criteria. Oh.
All right. Did you have something else as well, John, or is that it?
Nope, that was the thing that I found that I wanted to push over. So I put it over in the chat, the link. So
okay, next up was Ray.
Okay, this is kind of an application. I don't know what you'd call it. Maybe poor man's LiDAR. So what I have is an OpenMV camera and a laser with a line lens on it. And so the line is being drawn horizontally. And if if the laser's shooting the line out like parallel to the plane of the robot, and you tilt the camera down a little bit, you can easily get depth out of that. And I was going to show like a demonstration of it. I forget what this laser is. It's maybe a 980 nanometer or maybe in the 800 range. But you can buy filters, and it actually looks like a mirror. But it passes. It's called a long pass, and it passes pretty much infrared wavelengths, and it blocks visible wavelengths of light. Anyway, most of the lenses have they actually have an IR filter on them because the cameras respond to infrared light as well. So they try to block the infrared so the colors appear more true to their color, I guess. Anyway, so I gotta present. No, screen share. What is this again? Keep coming up with an error when I try to present.
You had that problem at the meeting on said day as well.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not certain what's going on there.
Share your screen and show us.
No, it's doing it again. Oh, come on, don't do this. What is happening?
Hey,
Okay.
Ray,
Yeah.
I found better luck if you just try to present the whole screen. Take the whole
Entire
screen.
screen. Yeah.
Yeah, just do that. And you have to click in the window.
Yeah.
And then that should give it to you, and then you just do it.
Okay.
Then you gotta make sure what's on your screen is what you want to show.
Yeah. Nope. Did it again.
Did it again.
Yeah. Darn. I wonder if I get out and come back in.
Yeah, that's the next step.
Okay. Let me try that. I'm going to leave and come back.
Okay.
Nope. Keeps doing it.
Turn your camera around and point it at your monitor.
Well, it's an on-screen thing because I have to open up the OpenMV IDE to get it to work so you can see it. Okay. All right. Clicking present now. Maybe I should just do a window. Nope. Same thing with a window. Well, darn. Don't know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know if I can use my camera to show it. I could try that. Yeah. Okay. Nope, not gonna let me do it. Darn it. Don't know why. Okay. Let me see if I can do this. I doubt I can, but or maybe I could show it with my phone. Okay. DPRG.org website.
I wonder if we should skip on to Fernando while you get your technical issues sorted out, depending on how long you think it might take, Ray.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Let's see, I don't know if you. Nope. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Fernando, do you want to go now?
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Hey.
I just want to give a quick update on the whole PCB thing. And I had a question or two about it since moving forward on it. So we received these on Monday. We got 20 of them, and they have the Iron Reign logo. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
So we were wondering. So actually, hold on. Let me clear my screen so I can show some pictures. Some janky stuff that we had to do. Oh, okay. So it's not letting me share my screen, but I can show pictures on my phone. Sorry about that.
Sounds like Sammy should raise for sharing.
So we ran into issues when actually testing. You can run it. We ran into issues when testing our subsystems with the RJ45 connectors and the cables. They weren't able to deliver enough 6 volts or the ground. So we're having to add extra cables to supply the voltage. And so for this PCB, we hadn't designed in anything to allow those cables to connect properly. So we've had to scratch off the traces.
Ooh.
Now that's connecting the JST to ground directly, so it has its own ground. And then
That's for the I2C. So the I2C didn't like it when the servos were drawing power.
Right.
And then here they are, all the components.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we had to use the screw terminals to supply those extra cables. Oh, sorry.
So now that you can play around a little bit, you might try using a capacitor across the power supply and ground for the servo. Just tack one on, one that you haven't modified or anything, and see if that helps with the problem.
Okay.
Oh wow. Yeah. Hey, looks like it came out okay. I mean, did what you wanted to do.
We don't have it on robot yet, so we're still running with the older, more jankier version. But this is promising since our I2C sensor hasn't been browning out on this, and one of our servos isn't jittering anymore. So it seems to be working with the extra cables that supply the ground and 6 volts.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then we had a question about since this is used typically for Ethernet connectors, I believe. I think there's some kind of wire flipping or switching. I forgot the correct term that happens for signals and stuff. So we were wondering if there's any way
to null modem. Is that what you're talking about? A null?
No, it's twisted pairs. So normally a Ethernet cable is twisted pairs, right? So
right. But a null modem, a null. Excuse me, I'll get it out here. A null modem is with 2 of those pairs or one of those pairs flipped. I can't remember exactly how it's defined, but they're often used a lot of times if you're like receiving a signal, I believe, and it handles. Anyway, look up null modem and see if that's what you're talking about.
No, that's not I think the question was more about if you're going to run I2C over an Ethernet cable, should the data connections be on one twisted pair, or does it matter if they're on different twisted pairs?
If I remember right, if you look up, there's an app note on that Kareem, that the people who did I2C, I'm not sure what company it is, but if you look it up, it's real quick to find. And I want to say that what they did is they ran power twisted with one, and they ran ground twisted with the other signal. And I can't remember which one went with the clock and which one went with the other. But there is an app note talking about using those with I2C.
Fernando, how long are your cables?
They are pretty long, especially the I2C ones. Those are, I believe, even longer, but they're all pretty long. They have to extend, how is it? 5-ish feet, I think. 3, 4, 5. I'm not exactly sure the length, but it's decently long.
It's about 4
What
feet.
speed are you running?
We know it's way beyond the 18-inch standard, but it's.
Well, then you need to be
been able to run longer ones in the past.
Yeah, but you should look at the Adafruit. Adafruit has a I2C conditioner module that's real good.
Yeah, we're not allowed to use that.
What frequency are you running your I2C at?
That I have no clue.
100 kbits?
I think it's 400, but I'm not sure.
So the standard 400. Have you put a scope on it?
No, I don't have a scope.
Borrow one. Buy one.
We're gonna probably see sawtooth signals on there.
So just,
If you
just
really
to
want to know
reinforce-
what's happening, put a scope on it.
Yeah.
Just to reinforce, Doug, what you recall from that app note, I think there's a sound rationale to have a signal and a low impedance
Fernando,
ground
can you mute
power.
yourself?
Did you guys hear me? Is that working?
I just wanted Fernando to mute himself, but it looks like he's able to present now.
Yeah, I got it to work. Sorry.
Yeah, so there's a good rationale to use a low impedance line together with the signal line. So I think, Doug, the comment that you had or the app note that you referenced where it says run the signal with like power and the data with the ground, I'll bet you could even flip the power and the ground, because the thing about the power and the ground is that those are both like low impedance lines with respect to each other. And by pairing a low impedance line like that, a good reference line, with the data or the clock, then I think if I remember right, it gives a good return path for noise that might couple into the wires. And then I think another benefit is that if I remember right, those Ethernet cables, they're twisted pair. So when you have the way twisted pair works is that when you have a wire crossed over each other, if you have like a magnetic loop a magnetic signal flux that cuts through on one part of the twist, it induces a current in one direction. As the wire twists over, that same flux cuts through, but it induces a current in the other direction. So magnetic flux that cuts through the twisted pair will tend to cancel itself out. So
can you put a link to the app note, Carl?
Oh, I don't have the app note at all. I'm just going by what I learned
Okay. All right.
as a young jerk engineer in defense industry.
Yeah, gotcha.
With electromagnetic compatibility. So, I mean, just as a general.
The other thing,
that's why you have ground planes and power planes in your circuit cards, because it gives, for noise that might want to couple into even the short runs of traces on a circuit card, a nice big flat ground plane and also a nice big flat power plane. Those give a really short loop for noise to be coupled to be returned to ground and not build up voltages on your signal lines.
Well, there are multiple possible factors here, and so far we've been discussing electromagnetic interference.
Yeah.
Whether it be inductively coupled interference from the power wires into the signal wires,
right,
or capacitively coupled,
right,
high frequency spikes. But there's a third mode of failure that is quite probable that you should look into here, which is ground bounce, or so when you've got when the motor's starting to run, which is when I thought I heard that's when the problem occurs. The current flowing from the motor flows into the ground wire, which has an IR drop going back to the host. So let's just imagine that the motor end of your circuit board gets lifted half a volt above ground at the controller. Now ground on your signal only goes down to 0.5 volts, and if it doesn't really go to 0.5, it might only go to 1 or 1.5. So you can have, you can fail to detect a low signal owing to ground bounce because of current flowing in the wire. Do you follow me on that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Fernando can't talk because it's really noisy down there. Yeah, that makes sense. That's the reason that's partly the reason we tried to isolate the ground for the I2C, so it's separate from the one that's servicing the motors. So now they're separate. That's what that whole scratching the PCB was about.
Okay.
And so at least they're not sure. I mean, there's still ground back all the way on the controller, but at least they're not sharing ground on that cable run now. But that's we haven't got that on the robot tonight because coders have exclusive access to the robot right now.
I see. So you've kind of ruled that possibility out then, sounds like.
No, we're hoping to address it with this, but it was, for us, it's a guess in the dark, right? So
Yeah.
It's just a shot in the dark. We're hoping it helps, but that plus isolating the power, getting a lot more copper on the ground and voltage for the servos.
Another
We'll see. But
another thought too is that you might want to mess with your pull-up resistors, and you might make them a little stronger. That can definitely have an impact.
we can't really mess with that. Those are built into the sensor, and we're not allowed to mess with that.
You can't add 2 resistors.
Believe it or not, all we can do is do custom cabling,
Oh,
but
wow.
we can't add any components.
So that's why you didn't put the capacitor in, because you can't do that either.
Yeah, we can't do the capacitor. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's some pretty arbitrary rules there.
Yeah.
Oh well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the main thing that they wanted to, get across was thank you for helping us out. And he did get his first PCB out, even though we had to mod it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's cool. Yeah. I love seeing the logo.
Yeah. All right.
You can speak
we
for
can
a
jump
second,
back to you.
Fernando,
If
if you
we're
want to
done
wrap
with
up.
Fernando, we can jump back to Ray.
I just wanted to say thank y'all for it. It's really cool.
You're welcome. Good job.
Thank you.
Anyway, should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I have the line laser on and the OpenMV on, and I'm in the OpenMV IDE. And what I did is, let's see, this particular one, it's a program called Single Color Grayscale.
You're just showing your Discord screen right now.
My
Right.
Discord stream.
I'm sorry, your Meet screen. We're seeing your browser with Meet on it.
Oh,
That's what we're seeing.
huh. Okay, sorry.
We got the infinity window. Ray.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with this thing. This is weird. Huh. So I can't show other windows. So you're not seeing.
It, like it says, you want to avoid an infinity mirror, don't share your entire screen or browser window. Share just a tab or a different window instead. So like if you stop presenting, and then when you go to share, present like literally a browser tab or whatever window you want to share. But not the one with not the whole screen, because it'll scrape the screen and get an infinity mirror.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think you can also minimize meat. It'll still work.
That's true.
A window. Okay. Share. Okay, now do you see it?
Yes.
Do you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see what happened here. I think I hit some wires and. Okay, so I have the line laser on. It's, hitting a table and a bunch of other things back here. So you can see part of the line, but parts of the line are missing. And if there's, if the beam is interrupted by something, in this case, I have a can, one of the orange taped cans. And the closer I bring it, the further down the blob with it's got, a circle in the center of it where, in where it's hitting the can, and that's the X and Y centroid. And on the serial window on the bottom left, it's printing out the X centroid and the Y centroid. So the X centroid, if I go to this side, should be closer to 0. And on the other side, it should be closer to, I think, 640. I can't quite get it all the way over there, but yeah, so it's 0 to 640, and it's all the way back, probably 4 or 5 feet now from the OpenMV. You can see it's much higher in the frame. So that can be used along with that filter to filter out basically the daylight and to find where the edges of the goal are, because that light in the line in the background would be shining on across the goal. So anyway, so it's fairly easy to get locations of things and how to steer to a can. And okay, right now I can turn off all the lights in the room and it's still working pretty good. And then in higher light situations, I would use that filter to, in fact, let's see how far back I can go. All the way back, that's about 6 feet there. So, and as I bring it forward, well, it's catching my arm too, but it froze. Yeah, I think I've got a bad connection.
So, Ray,
and I'm in the dark.
When you're through there, can you tell us more about the laser module that you're using? This is really neat.
Yeah, it's just a let me see here. This keeps coming loose. Let's see here. Okay. No, not making connection. Okay, don't want to say you do anything with the V drive. Okay, it's frozen. I think I'm going to stop presenting. Oh, okay. All right, let me turn the lights back. Yeah, they're from a company called, it's like Axis, AIXIZ.com. And you can get them in different wavelengths. You can get different lenses to screw on the front. This one, I'll get up here and show it to you. This one is just looks like this. That's the line lens on the front. It looks like a Fresnel lens. And I made a 3D printed a little holder because this thing's cylindrical and tends to roll around all over the place. Anyway, so that lens just screws on the front. Otherwise it would produce just a single dot. And they're not too much. I don't remember the price, and they've probably gone up since I bought that one, but let's see, AIXIZ.com.
Yeah, they have all kinds of different lenses.
Yeah, for different things. Yeah, so this is either a 980 or an 880. I don't remember which one it is. And the filter it's a long pass for one of those two wavelengths. Like I said, I forgot don't remember which one it was, but you can buy the specialty lenses. Let's see if they still have the Fresnel.
Now, what power level are you using on the laser?
Let me see.
I'm just wondering whether the line forming lens tends to require higher power from the laser itself.
I don't know. Let me look and see what these are.
That's a pretty slick idea.
So is the software that you are running producing the XY coordinates, is that looking for the highest or lowest representing the nearest thing in the field of view?
It's actually one of the blob detectors in the OpenMV IDE. It's a slight modification of the single color grayscale blob tracking .py example.
So why is it picking up the line when it's on the can and not the line when it's on the background?
Yeah, you basically, let me see if I can share again here. Okay. Get back to that. This one. And a window. That one. Share. Okay, can you see that?
Not sharing.
No. What is going on with this thing? Yep, can't share your screen again. I don't know why that's popping up. Share. Oh. Okay, hold on a sec. I want to share that one. Share. How about now?
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, so this is the IDE. This is this program, the single color grayscale blob tracking. The blobs, you can say how many pixels are in the blob, and you can threshold if it's less than so many pixels. You can choose not to show it, or to try to find it. So there's pixel threshold and also area threshold. So you can have not a solid blob, but pixels that are typically surrounding. You may have some holes in the image where the color is not exactly right or doesn't meet the criteria, but it'll still consider it a blob if that's enclosed. So there's the two things you can do. The area threshold is just the number of pixels.
But you've got those lines across in the background where it's hitting the table. I'm just wondering why they aren't detected as blobs.
Oh, I think because there's not enough pixels or area threshold in it.
Really?
So yeah, I would need to be able to see those if I'm going to, try to find the goal, because the laser would be shining on the cans if I have it lower, or just on the, just above the cans on the course. So I could use it to find the goal. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but for objects that have enough pixels for a blob, it can easily find them. So this isn't a very long program to be able to do it. That's kind of it right there. So yeah, there may be some finagling that you have to do, and what's kind of nice about that is you don't have to tune it for the orange of the can and deal with changing lighting conditions. With this filter on it.
Well, if you had a can that was fairly close to the wall, maybe it was like, sometimes they seem to be like 6 inches away from the wall. Wouldn't the wall have an equal, if not bigger, blob size than what is hitting the can?
It might, but it might be, well, again, you have to play around with the thresholds of, how many pixels and what the area is. But yeah, so you may have to be closer to it to detect it. And that's the thing. Not all these things work great, like 2 inches away from the camera and 10 feet away from the camera. So, I just wanted to show that it was fairly easy to catch them kind of like between a foot and 6 feet away. And I know with that long pass lens on it, it would work. I could see that the laser in the image like 15 feet away. So I'm thinking for 6 can, I might be able to use it to easily find it. One of the nice things is that, the frame rate is like 30, I think it was around maybe 20 to 30 frames per second. So that's a much faster frame rate than what a LiDAR would produce. So, and it's, if you have a camera, for I think maybe $10 or so, you can buy the laser and the line lens. Maybe even the filter. The filters were pretty cheap, maybe $15. And, like I said, have a poor man's LiDAR. So
when you first started out, I thought you were going to describe a parallax-based approach where the height of the closer in images is different from further away images, and you infer range from that.
Yeah, let's see, is it parallax?
I think that's what they call it, isn't it?
Yeah. Isn't this kind of using that principle? I thought it was parallax. Maybe not. I don't know.
So would you be using the detected Y coordinate as a measure of range?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think he is kind of doing that, right, Ray?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
because you could print out both the X centroid and the Y centroid, and the Y centroid, if it's
Okay.
all the way back, it's going to appear, with the rest of the line in the background.
I
And
see.
as you bring it forward, it's going to go further down in the image. So, towards the bottom. And left and right is, whether you're on the left side of the image or the right side of the image, it doesn't seem to, you can get an angle from that based on the.
Okay. Yeah. So it is parallax-based. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Ray, how are you
Anyway.
going to handle more than one can?
Well, it would just show up as another blob. So typically what you can do is you can sort out the size of the blobs. So the closer can would have the bigger blob.
Hey, Ray, can you put your laser supplier link in the chat?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ray.
I was curious to know what your wattage is, because some years back when I was going to play with 3D scanners, I picked up some of these. These are basically project a horizontal line off of a laser. They're 5 milliwatt.
Yeah.
So I wondered, I'm about to put power on it, see what it looks like.
Yeah. How many, what wattage did you say it was?
5 milliwatts.
5. Yeah. I think they're in that range. That one may be a little higher. Maybe, I think the most powerful one was 25 milliwatts that I bought, and that was a green one. I'd have to look on that website again to try to figure out what the actual wattage was. But I think it may be around 5 milliwatts.
I may finally have a use for these lasers that have been sitting in the box for so long.
There you go. And it's kind of nice to have in the infrared range. And you can get, red, green, blue filters to match the laser color. But if it's in the visible spectrum, you're all going to see, or you're also going to see whatever red, blue, or green was in the background image. So it's kind of nice to be able to get out of the visible spectrum and into the infrared spectrum, where there is really no, it's not associated with a color, a visible color that we can see. So, because it was shining on an orange can, and it didn't matter really what color the can was. So,
Is the line visible to you?
If I get too far away, no. If I hold my hand up close to the laser, so it starts to burn my skin, no. I can see a little faint line, but it's like a faint pink. It's not, not nearly as bright as it appears in the image. So.
Okay, I'm used to working with them in the 650 or 635 nanometer range, which is a little more visible.
Right.
It's not quite infrared, so you can still see it.
Yep.
And there's lots of those available for like Arduino module, laser modules. There are tons in that 650 nanometer range.
Yep. Yeah, they're pretty common. I could look up the
it's
ISIS
the bandpass
module.
filters that are harder to get.
Yeah, and I got these, I don't know, at least 5 years ago now. And they were very cheap. Let me quickly look up this laser. Uh-oh, that's weird. It's not doing anything. Okay, yeah. So one of the 880s that that one may be the one that I have. It looks like it. It's a 10 milliwatt. And the The 904s are anywhere from 5 to 25 milliwatt. There's a 5, a 10, and a 25. But I don't, the ones that I got, I thought were the 5 milliwatts. Because the other ones get a lot more expensive. And this one actually had 3 wires coming out of it, and you could use the one power ground and a signal to turn on or turn off the laser, which was kind of nice. Yeah, it looks like you can get a 980 up to 300 milliwatts, but it looks like it's got a massive heat sink on it. So it looks like the ones were in the 5 to 10 milliwatt range. And I don't see the one that is adjustable anymore, or that you can turn on and off.
Wouldn't 300 milliwatts slice your can in half?
I don't know. It might. I don't know what the power levels of most. Yeah, I'm guessing that's used for maybe for wood burning or something. But yeah, not the ones that I bought are not that one. But that's kind of the range of power levels that you can get out of it. But anyway, I'll put the AIXIZ.com was where I got those, and the filters I got off AliExpress a while ago. This little filter that kind of looks like a mirror. And this is a filter switch. I don't know if you guys are seen these before. They're used in security cameras for, daylight, nighttime viewing. And nighttime viewing, it's just there is no filter typically. And then in daytime, it's, the filter that filters out the infrared, so the colors look better.
It's the thing that fails on my outdoor security cameras first.
Oh, so it gets stuck.
No longer switch at nighttime anymore.
Oh, yeah. So it makes a camera that doesn't work so good in the night. But anyway,
Until I take
it
it apart and service it.
Say it again.
Until I take it apart and service it.
Yeah. There's some sort of like spring mechanism with a coil. So you energize the coil, and it forces it and pushes it away or pulls it towards it, depending on the polarity.
Exactly.
On the coil. So you just pulse it, and typically it does that. But yeah, so I never tried to put that filter switch on the front of the lens. The IR lenses typically don't have anything across the back of them. The ones that do have the IR filter, it looks like a little, kind of like a pinkish colored glass. You can pop that off and put this one on the back instead of using a filter switch, but then it's on there all the time, and it's not going to let visible light pass through it. So pretty much dedicated to that. I was kind of wondering, I don't know if the ESP eyes have replaceable lenses on their cameras or not. I don't know if you can get a version that does, but I thought that might be a neat approach. You'd have basically I don't know, maybe a $20, $25, poor man's LiDAR, I guess, with all the components and stuff. So, but it seems to work pretty good. And I know this is all kind of a jury rig setup, but, just to demonstrate that, it's got possibilities. So
The ESP cams that I've read about, if you're really, really careful, you can unscrew the lenses on them because they're threaded for focus adjustment. You can unscrew them and you can remove the little tiny IR filter that's inside them with a pair of tweezers, if you're really careful, and then put them back together.
Yep. Yeah, it's all pretty small though, right?
Yep.
They don't have the 12 millimeter barrel lens, right?
No, they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's kind of nice about the OpenMVs and the Max cams. They all have that. So whatever lenses you had before, 12 millimeter lenses, they're all interchangeable. So anyway, that was all I had.
Well, cool. Thanks, Ray. That was interesting.
Yeah.
So I think we've finished the queue. We can go to open mic.
Well, I spent the big bucks and I bought a Ublox 10M class GPS receiver, GNSS receiver. Cost me a whole $18 Canadian. So it's not that bad a price. I'm just going to share. Let me just put away Ray. I'm just going to share something momentarily here.
So is it a genuine? Is it the real deal or?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I'm just going to show you this first. That is in my basement workshop, a place where most of the time no GPS will get anything, and occasionally I'll be lucky with my older ones, and I'll get a few of the US GPS constellation satellites. That was my first 30 minutes of experimenting with this unit, which is branded Walk Snail. So I don't know whose chip it's actually. Well, I know it's got a Ublox 10M in it, but it's the module itself is a Chinese branded module. But they bought it from Ublox. Anyway, look at those satellites, and not only that, most of them are Chinese.
Yeah, ooh.
And they're the strongest ones.
We better hurry up and purchase Greenland.
Yeah. So I've been researching the Chinese satellite constellations since I had heard that they were inaccurate, but in fact they are not. My friend, a consulting engineer from Ottawa who winters in China and has done a lot of consulting work there, he says at first he was confused and he thought his GPS in China was no good. But he says it turns out that what's no good are the maps. The GPS is fine, but if you use a map that didn't come from China, then it doesn't work right. Or the other way around, I guess. If you use a Chinese map, it doesn't work right with GPS signals of any sort, which I thought was very strange. But anyway, he's confirmed to me that the GPS signals from Chinese satellites are quite accurate. And some of the background research I've done has suggested that the Chinese GPS constellations are now more accurate than the American GPS constellations. I thought that was interesting. There's certainly a lot more of them. So I'm looking forward to configuring this to put it on my robot, and that's so I can do a dispersion test and see how it compares. But it's too bloody cold out. I've been watching it snow outside this evening. We'll see.
Does that have a separate antenna?
No, the antenna is integral. Where is it here? The antenna is integral, and it's a little bit smaller than the ones that I've been using with the 6Ms. I think it's a 19 by 19. Let me see where it is. Yeah, here it is here. You probably won't be able to see anything, but see if you can see anything here. There it is there. So it's the antenna's on one side of the electronics module. But it does contain a legitimate Ublox 10M series integrated circuit in it. And it really works well. So I have to see what I'm going to do with it. I had to slow it down. The default configuration with UCenter version 2 speeds it up to 130 kbaud. As soon as it connects to it, it speeds it up to 130 kbaud. And that won't work on my robot.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, can you put a link to anything that has a genuine chip? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So can you put a link on that?
And not only that, but I checked the reviews very carefully before I actually bought it from AliExpress. And the reviews are extremely good for this thing. So I'll put the link up. Anyway, let me close this. So we'll see where this takes us.
So are there, I don't know, certain ID registers that you can access that actually tell you that it's a Ublox chip, or?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It turns out that even the actual Chinese created GPS chips that were sent to me as counterfeit 6Ms, they actually self-identify. And once, and they self-identify honestly, which means you can then go and find the data sheets for them. But they're not particularly good GPSs. I've been trying to get them to work. So, okay, walks now.
Yeah. I had purchased a couple of Chinese GP M10s, and what I found was they weren't really M10s. I mean, when I say that, they had some limitations, and I don't think you could use the UBX protocol on them and a few other things.
Yeah.
But they weren't bad. They were not bad GPSs.
Yeah.
They were good GPSs.
These I've been using the U Center test program with them, and it fully identifies them as legitimate Ublox.
That's why I'm interested in seeing the link.
Just make sure you get the best one here. Let's go find the order I placed. Right there. So this link is not only to the device, but also to the actual retailer I bought it from, which I had no problems with. So there it is there.
Cool.
I see the price has gone up a couple of bucks, but that's normal.
Yeah.
And when I bought it, it was sold, I think, through their source preferred shipping arrangement. This link doesn't show that right now. I don't know why. But I'm working very hard to only use their preferred shipping arrangement because it's very fast and nothing ever seems to go wrong. So I've had other stuff that never showed up, or it showed up 8 weeks later. Anyway, there it is. So I'm really happy with it. In fact, I'm so happy. I want to put it on my robot first, but I may buy one or two more because I'm really impressed with them. We'll see how good they are.
Cool. Who else has got something?
Okay.
Doug, do you want to talk about build a robot ideas that we got floating around?
Oh, yeah, I guess we could. Give me a second.
It's a bit premature.
I think it might be a little premature, but the idea is it would be a 6-session class, mainly for beginners. You'd end up building probably a tabletop robot, is what we're thinking. And so you would in the 6 sessions, you'd learn about the robot, you'd put it together, and it would be a kit that we would assemble ahead of time so that when we hand it out to the people that they'd get a kit, and you'd have to pay money for it, obviously. And we're asked to probably give a discount to members and whatnot. But it would be a bargain, it'd be a bargain thing. We were not going to count the last penny and do what the club will pick up some of it. But anyway, that's what we're thinking. And the robot base would be extendable beyond this. It would be something that you could use in other projects. But anyway, we're looking, we have to see how many people are interested in it before, and we have to do a little more research. But that's basic ideas that we're trying to do. Yeah.
Thanks.
We
Yeah,
just got a new member who we think it would be really useful for her, so this, and a couple other people said they would be interested in it. So
yeah. There were 6 of the people actually at the meeting who indicated that they'd be interested in that. So we're going to try and make that happen this year.
Yep. Definitely am.
That may be a good way to spark up new members. Is to put together a proposal for a project, and then advertise that project every BVN or NV each week, and then have a fall startup or something to build the robot.
Yeah, something like that, Pat. We're, we might want to try and hit while the nail is hot, but we'll have to see. Like I said, I know I've got a long road trip somewhere, and probably in March, April. So we'll have to see how that works. So, and but we'll see. Maybe we'll condense the class down to 4 sessions or something like that. And if we could do that, that would be real useful. The problem is to go from somebody who probably doesn't have a screwdriver all the way up to doing a robot, build with probably odometry on it in 4 weeks might be a little quick, but we could try it. And you almost have to do a dry run before you do it, to just make sure you've got all the parts and all the software works, and you don't end up teaching somebody something that doesn't work. So anyway, but it's going to happen this year for sure. And hopefully earlier than later, because then it will get in the way of Robo Columbus, and we don't want that.
No.
I plan on bringing my Robo Columbus robot with me when I go west this summer.
Oh, okay.
So you gotta work while there's no snow on the ground, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to be 4 weeks somewhere away, well, I'll bring the robot with me.
Well, you might also have some interesting possibilities. If you look at some of the videos on Dave Anderson's website, he set his robot and basically told it to go 300 yards into the woods and then turn around and come back. And, he not knowing anything about what was in the woods. So, he said he learned an awful lot about robot robustness doing that. That when it would he'd find something that he would never have considered, stuck his robot up, and he had to figure out how to get around it. So it's a lot. That could be a potential fun thing to do.
Yeah, well, for now, my plan is just to go across. My son's got a big enough yard. 300
Oh,
feet
yeah.
is
Oh,
not a
wow.
problem in his yard.
Yeah.
So bring the traffic cones and bring the robot and
Go to it.
get my grandson, who's going to be 8. Maybe I never know, a future roboticist.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, maybe he can do the AI prompts for you, Pat, to get it together.
Yeah, exactly. It's
So,
that I find that's an art form in itself, just to get the proper AI prompt
yeah.
to get it to spit out the code you want.
I'm really kind of curious to see what the newest generation is going to do. It's going to be a totally different skill set than when we grew up.
In another couple of years, all we'll have to do is take a picture of the robot and paste it in, and out will spit all the code we need.
That'll be good. Well, then we'd have them say, design me a robot frame that, blah, 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 and let it actually do the CAD drawings for you.
That would be a help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, I think the laser link that I put in there, it says it's a 780 nanometer, but 50 milliwatt. But I think it's the only one that I see in there with 3 wires on it. So I'm thinking it may have been a 780 millimeter or nanometer.
50 milliwatts, isn't that pretty high?
Yeah.
Now we're talking about frying people as your robot drives down the road.
With 50 milliwatts?
I don't know.
It's got to be, I think, a lot more than that. What are the well, like, what the smallest desktop is, like 40 watts, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe there's,
I don't know what the milliwatt range is, but I know that in industry we use class 1, class 2, class 3 lasers. I'm doing a project using class 2 lasers to scan a log as it goes by, and to get a true shape on the log as it goes by, so I can rotate it properly to cut it. And it's they say with those, don't look at the laser light. There's an issue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't.
And that's class 2, and they do have class 3, which is far worse.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think you should look at any of them.
No, that's right. I want to say that I was talking to Doug E, who used to be a club member, and he does he builds towers for cell phones. He goes, he's one of the guys that puts them together and moves on, puts another one together. Anyway, he said one of the problems that they have is people are not aware of looking down at a what do they call that?
Oh, fiber optic.
They look at a fiber optics at the end of the fiber optics, and they burn their eyeballs. Yeah. So that's apparently a big problem with people that work with fiber optics, is keeping the discipline to not ever look down and.
Yeah, some of them are not visible light.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, that's typically it's 1550 nanometers.
Yeah, so you don't know what hit you until all of a sudden, hey, I can't see too good anymore.
Yeah, 3 days later you're going blind.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing tables on Google that vary between 0.3 milliwatts and 5 milliwatts for class 1. So 50 would be like way more.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yep.
I want to say 5 milliwatts is top of class 1, isn't it? Can you tell from your chart?
I'm seeing different answers. Like the National Laser Company says, class 1A is 4 milliwatts. class 2 is not above 1 milliwatt. So
Yeah, I'm sure it has to do with wavelengths too. You know,
50 milliwatts sounds like a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, it gets a little warm.
Mhm.
I think it depends on the wavelength too.
Well, I can tell you from working in the laser lab on laser rangefinders for the military, when we had CO2 gaseous lasers, they had a lot of power, but that wavelength tend to be absorbed by the surface of the eye, and it wouldn't penetrate much further. But the wavelength of the YAG, the solid state yttrium, arsenic, gallium, or YAG, whatever that is, that wavelength was such that the surface of the eye would focus it on the retina and burn a hole in the retina. So the wavelength absolutely has an effect because different parts of the eye transmit or absorb the heat or the radiation differently.
Yep.
And I don't remember the numbers at all, except that they were big numbers that we broadcast so that it could penetrate smoke for 10 kilometers and come back.
Wow.
With enough energy to detect. So
Wow.
When
it would be megawatts of energy for 100 nanoseconds.
Wow.
When I was the safety officer for our regional science fair, laser-based projects were starting to show up. So I was fortunate to work for a large industrial company who had a corporate safety officer with a PhD in optics, strangely enough. So I had him do the analysis of safety of lasers. And after we went through that exercise, I banned them all.
Really? Wow.
The last thing I need is an 11-year-old kid with eye damage because of his neighbor's project had a laser.
Yeah, so if I understood the issue, one of the issues was that unlike other light sources, laser beams, the light is collimated, so it doesn't diverge so much. I mean, it diffracts in the atmosphere and spreads out, but the light is collimated when it leaves the laser. So when you put that into a lens, like the surface of your eye, if it's the right wavelength, what does that do? But it focuses it down to a point. So all the energy that's in that beam is now focused where? On your retina. So it's like you take a magnifying glass with the sun, which you're so far away from the sun that its light's effectively collimated. So that goes to the magnifying glass, and that's how you start leaves on fire, right?
Yes, when I was a kid, that was a whole lot of fun.
Whole lot of fun. So you collimated light in, focus it down on a point, and you got concentrated.
When my son was in high school, I get a call one day from the principal. He says, I need to come and pick my son up from school because he's been flashed in the eye by a laser beam by some kid in the cafeteria, and he can't see very well right now.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
Me and the principal had quite a conversation about that one.
Was he okay? Did you have him checked out?
It went away after a few hours. There was no lasting damage. But the principal says he doesn't know what to do. He's got a bucket full of lasers that he had confiscated in the previous 6 months. He says, I don't know how to stop this.
Were they just like, little pen pocket lasers or?
Yeah.
Little laser
Wow.
pointers.
Yeah, laser
Well,
pointers.
they were a big rage for a while, right? And especially
That's right. You can buy them in every dollar store.
Yeah.
Especially if you owned a cat. Yeah.
Or you
I
wanted to
want
get
to
in
say
trouble
the
with
green laser pens are really could be seriously bad. That's the ones that they've been flashing the pilots
planes.
with.
Yeah.
They have a long range.
All right. Sounds like we're sort of winding down here. Does anyone have any other robot topics to discuss? If not, maybe we should call it a night. All right. Well, good meeting. Thank you, gentlemen. Always good to see you, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Right.